This is particularly big. The Supreme Court has turned down pleas challenging the delimitation exercise in Jammu and Kashmir. Now, the bench that has made this decision was headed by Justice A.S. Oka. It said that the centre has the requisite power under the law to formulate such a commission. You'll remember that this is an issue around which there has been much controversy over the last few years. In just a second from now, we'll discuss in more detail what it is the Delimitation Commission had decided and discussed over the last few years and the information that they'd made public. Let me just check if my colleague is connected with us right now. Remember, this is the delimitation exercise for Jammu and Kashmir, and in the hearing of the case, you had the union government tell the Supreme Court that it couldn't wait till 2026. They'd argued that they wanted to give immediate democracy to the newest union territory. But let's go over to my colleague Tejinder, who's joining us from Jammu and Kashmir for more. Tejinder, walk our audiences through the opposition that had come in, because we've given our audiences some context already as to what the delimitation exercise was and how it has been carried out over the last few years. But walk our audiences now through some of the opposition that came in from local parties to the entire exercise over the last few years, please.
The Kashmir-based political parties, they had raised objections over the entire delimitation process that was carried out by the Election Commission. The local Kashmir-based political parties, rather be it the People's Democratic Party or the National Conference and other smaller parties in Kashmir, they had said that the delimitation exercise was carried out in such a way so as to benefit the BJP in the upcoming assembly elections whenever they are held. So two local individuals, they had also approached Supreme Court with a plea that the entire delimitation exercise should be cancelled and called null and void. But today the Supreme Court has given a big relief to the government of India, saying that the government of India, the centre has the powers under law to formulate such a commission. So clearly a big setback to those Kashmir-based political parties who were saying that this entire exercise was carried out to benefit the BJP. Now the assembly elections in Jammu and Kashmir, whenever they are held, would be held under the delimitation that has already been done. So the new delimitation, that was the exercise which was recently completed by the Election Commission. So now the new elections, the assembly elections, will be held on all those seats which have been delimited in Jammu and Kashmir.
Tejinder, just stay with us. Let me share with our audiences that of the 7 new seats added, 6 were allotted to Jammu, 1 was given to Kashmir. What that meant is that Kashmiri representation went down to 52% from 55%, and Jammu representation went up from 44 to 47%. Let's go over to my colleague Ananya, who is covering this story right now for us and what the Supreme Court had to say. Ananya, walk us through the nuts and bolts really of what the Supreme Court had to say right now.
Well, the Supreme Court clearly dismissed this particular petition, clearly saying, in fact, that there seems the centre has clear powers to actually carry out a delimitation exercise in the state of Jammu and Kashmir, and it is well within the rights of the state, in fact, the central government, and under the powers of the Constitution, it can actually create a delimitation commission in fact, any of the state and carry out this particular exercise. It also went on to say that since the question of Article 370 is already pending before the Supreme Court in other batch of petitions, it's not dwelling into that. However, the power of the central government to in fact carry out such an exercise is completely correct, and there is no legal bar which bars the central government from making such an carrying out such an in fact exercise and appointing such a commission to carry out this particular exercise. So definitely it's a big win for the central government, where its delimitation exercise has been now validated by the topmost court of the country, and it's been clearly said the centre in it is well within its right to carry out such an exercise.
Okay, if I could ask you, Ananya, now to walk our audiences through the different arguments that have been presented over the last few months by both sides, please.
Well, the central government clearly went on to say, when this matter was being heard, that there is a clear power for the central government under the provisions of the Constitution, that it can carry out such a delimitation exercise in the state and can in fact, revisit the boundaries of a state, and such a thing is already carried out in the past for other states as well, and hence the same can also be carried out for the state of Jammu and Kashmir. While the petitioner had a clear argument that such an exercise in the northeastern state had been left incomplete and such an exercise cannot be carried out, but at the end of the day, Supreme Court, after considering all of these submissions, has clearly noted that in fact such an exercise can be carried out by the central government. It's well within its powers to do it, and that's the reason why in fact this petition has now been dismissed by the topmost court of the country.
Okay, can you take us now, Ananya, if I could ask for you to take us in further detail now to the arguments in opposition of the government. Tell us also who the lawyer was that was fighting this case, please, and who the petitioners were.
Well, this petitioner was a resident of the Jammu and Kashmir and had challenged the delimitation exercise that was being carried out in the state. In fact, they also challenged certain provisions of, the 370 which was struck down by the central government. However, all of these arguments that were given out by, in fact, the petitioner were actually not accepted by the court, and it is clearly said that the central government is well within its right to carry out such a exercise, and definitely it has the clear powers under the constitution and can carry out such a, in fact, exercise. However, the petitioner had clearly contended that center has no power to create, in fact, such a commission, and the commission is flawed in law and has to be dismissed, and none of its decision can be impounding and on the state of Jammu and Kashmir, and that's the reason why delimitation exercise.
Ananya, thank you for bringing us context. This is a particularly important story, so we're going to continue to cover it through the rest of the day today. But with that, we come to an end of the show. My name is Toya. I'll be signing out. My colleague Griha Atul will be taking over with the next show.